Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Oh, it is August. It is a Friday. Man, it can't get no righter. That is my I think that was it Money Talks, or I can't remember what Chris Tucker movie it was. I think it is Money Talks. So someone quote me on that, but Chris Tucker says it can't get no righter. That was on with Charlie Sheen. This is the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's answering the hows and the whys.
I had my microphone muted, but I was saying, please don't ever do a Chris Tucker impression again.
You can't get no righter. Yeah,
that's as cringe as when Michael Scott was doing it on The Office. You should learn. We don't do
excited. I'm just excited. It is August. It is Friday. I'm very, very excited. So we have a lot to get into. This is going to be a very, very fun show. I don't say that a ton. You know, these podcasts, they always come from the beginning and say, oh, we got a great show for you. You know, I don't know. I don't say that a ton, but episode 231 will be a lot of fun. So yes, Technic Chick says, seeing lots of love in the chat here. Man, we're just in a good mood. It's going to be awesome. So football is back. That's what I want to start with, because Harbaugh and Trey Lance, I mean, come on. I mean, I've already listened to 3 radio shows this morning. Louis Riddick was on Dan Patrick. Like, everyone's impressed. I want to know what you think, and I want to know what the faithful think. So please chime in. That first drive, I know they got the fumble because Dan Campbelled it. Why in the world are you having a defensive back return
linebacker?
No,
linebacker.
Linebacker. Yeah, why is he returning the football? There's no more
because
Dan
you want somebody returning the football who will bite somebody's kneecaps off.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, he Campbelled it. He Campbelled that.
Oh,
like,
gosh.
What are we doing?
Is that like shrooting it? You know,
yes, it is. It is. It is.
Bunch
absolutely.
Of office callbacks this morning. But look, Trey Lance, he looked good.
Dude,
and good
really
for him.
good.
And,
yeah, man,
I'm
happy.
And I'm happy for him. I mean, the kid has, the mental fortitude it's got to take to go through. I mean, he's kind of been Alex Smith, like high overall pick. Alex Smith, the number 1 overall pick. Trey Lance, the number 3 overall pick. And you have this, doesn't work out in the early part. Everyone's calling you a bust. And you go through multiple
25.
coaches. He's only 25. You go through multiple coaches where it seems like multiple coaches don't think you have it. And so then he ends up with Jim Harbaugh. This is very similar to Alex Smith's story, and then looks much better. Now, again, Trey Lance has had the opportunities that he didn't have, which is time. People think it's because of being with a different coach. It's not just being with a different coach. Being with Jim Harbaugh over the last several months has not suddenly helped him develop those touch passes. Helped him develop his footwork. Those things happen away from the facility these days. Like that used to be back in the day when players were pretty much there from early March through training camp. that doesn't really exist anymore. The way that the offseason is, there's just a certain time that players are not allowed to be in contact or work with their coaches with anything football related. So a lot of that has shifted to personal player responsibility. This is meaning that Trey Lance has used the time sitting behind different quarterbacks in Dallas and now in LA that he's worked on his footwork. He's worked on his touch passes with a quarterback coach and by that we mean more of a quarterback trainer, not necessarily a coach. There is a difference there, but he has looked much improved and he was able to be the one thing I was looking for were the deficiencies I saw with him in San Francisco, where you kind of looked at it and you went, ooh, okay, you're a ways away. The game is still very much overwhelming for you. Was that going to change? The ability to see, I have a concept over here and a concept over here to defeat different coverages, and I know where I'm going based upon everything. Now, it did seem like the Lions weren't throwing a lot at him. They have a new defensive coordinator. They're installing a lot of things. They had a lot of
it's the Hall of Fame
fourth string guys in there.
Still.
So, I mean, but on the other side, Kyle Allen's doing the same thing and he throws 2 picks and looks pretty rough.
Right.
Good performance is a good performance. You can't really have too many caveats with that. Yes, he was playing with that, but it's better than him throwing 2 picks and having a bad game. So you celebrate it for what it is. You take the win, you take the good performance, and you say, okay, that's at least better than some of the other things we'd seen. So it's positive anyway. Is he going to be pushing just for Justin Herbert's job? No. But I mean, why it suddenly? I think it stirs up the heated disagreements that different people had over the years and where everything turned personal, your opinions on Trey Lance. So everybody who is a Trey Lance truther is now taking a victory lap. And everybody who was against Trey Lance and didn't believe in him is now sitting there going, whoa, calm down. There's caveats, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is. So it's personal. People disagreeing over their takes than it actually is about Trey Lance's performance, at least on social media is what we're seeing. And people are jumping in with that. So that's just kind of fun to watch, at least for me. I'm a poke the bear kind of guy. But look, he played well. It was fun to see real football. We haven't had it for a long time. And the Hall of Fame game, among everything, ushers in that real football is back. And that's what I'm excited for.
Very, very, very excited. I wanted to get into a couple other things. I want to tease you guys also to make sure you stick around. We will be going over what is on a play call sheet. I already saw it before the show. You're going to want to stick around for that. It's really cool. But I wanted to get into a couple
and it
other
ties
things.
into the Hall of Fame game. It does tie into the Hall of Fame game. But I just remember this because I remember exactly what Technician is talking about. That was the 2019 game. I think it was running back that used to be in Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan. Totally blanking on his name right now. He had 4 touchdowns.
Trey.
No. It wasn't Trey. But totally help me out in the chat there. Yeah. He had 4 touchdowns in the game, but Nick Bosa, he picked off a short slant that Kyle Allen was trying to throw. And I remember the NFL Films caught it that after that, George Kittle walked up to Kyle Shanahan and told him he drafted a cheat code from that play. So
and that running back went to IU. That running back went to IU, I'm pretty sure. And I can't remember now too.
He runs like a 4.3, 4.38.
Come on,
like
chat.
That.
The chat will give
I'm looking it up. I've just got to do it.
Yeah, I remember. Gosh, didn't he go to the Vikings then?
I don't remember. I didn't keep up with him after.
Not Coleman. Not Coleman.
Yeah. That's it. Tevin Coleman.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Tevin Coleman that year.
Okay. Yep. So he went to IU.
He had 4 touchdowns in that game.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, most of them were screen passes too. Right. Kyle Shanahan put Luke Kuechly in a blender in that game. I remember that. I remember breaking it down. It was awesome.
Yeah, fun stuff. Very cool. Yes, thanks, Dr. Steve. Okay, yeah, a couple things to get into here before, like we talked about that play call sheet. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to my guys T.I. and Miles. Johnny, today August 1st, is exactly 1 year anniversary of Sports Idiot Nation. We have 105 episodes
Hey,
in.
yo. Happy
So,
birthday, Sports
yeah,
Idiot Nation.
yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. 105 episodes in 1 year is
Which is
no small
impressive
task. Yeah,
because
it's no
because
small
I want to
task.
say I was on episode 11, wasn't it?
I think it was
I mean, it
15.
was 15.
15,
I
I
mean, it
think,
was
yeah.
somewhere around there. So the fact that you guys have been pumping them out and getting after it and you've added those subs, it's awesome. Good to see you having fun over there with the
Yeah.
guys on that podcast. We always appreciate you here, though,
Yeah, oh,
and
for
what we
sure.
do here in this podcast. You keep me on the rails sometimes.
Exactly, need to. So let's talk some 49ers now and give some updates and I definitely want to know your take on who's coming in. I want to talk a little Ben Barch for sure because that is super exciting as well. Um, what do you know about this quarterback that we got, honestly?
I don't know much about him. I know they've been looking for kind of a fourth camp arm for a little while, and so they brought in. They made a bunch of roster moves. So the 49ers, they signed Amir Abdullah. Everybody heard about that because he was kind
Yeah,
of a little bit more well-known name.
right.
I think, and everybody started worry, was that mean that James Jordan was going to be out for an extended period of time? And I think it was Lisa had messaged me and she asked me about that. And I said, I think they're just trying to look for running back number 4. That they haven't really had a running back number 4 that was reliable on the roster this whole
Yeah.
time. And so I think they've been looking at that. So they brought in a number of different people, one of which was Jeff Wilson, who'd been with the team before. And they ended up signing Amir Abdullah. They brought in Carter Bradley. Don't know much about him. I don't think he's going to be much, if anything. He might be pushing on that number 3 or 4 spot with Tanner Mordecai. They signed wide receiver Marcus Callaway and Andy Isabella. Andy Isabella has been somebody that's kind of bounced around a number of different places, and he brings a lot of speed. Has never been a real breakout receiver, but they're getting thin at receiver at this point. Juwan Jennings has no timeline for his return. He irritated a calf that he apparently injured in OTAs. Now, there's been conspiracy. The conspiracy theorists, have been wondering if this is a calf irritation until he signs his
Right, like
contract extension.
magically. Oh, it
So,
feels great.
Right,
Feels
yeah,
great.
like, well, we got some good
You
treatment. We're
got,
ready to go right after we get those
massage.
guarantees.
Yeah.
But that does tend to point to that. But they did cut Equanimous St. Brown. Equanimous St. Brown. Not the St. Brown you're thinking. Anyways, they cut him, but they added 2 wide receivers. So they did add another wide receiver body into there. I mean, they're down Brandon Ayuk, they're down Jacob Cowing, they're down Juwan Jennings. So that leaves you with Ricky Pearsall that they're trying to ease back in. They gave him a day off as part of his ramp up period, and they're probably going to be doing that over the next couple weeks. You need another body in there. You don't need to run your other wide receivers into the ground like Jordan Watkins, who's apparently been showing out very well in camp. And some of the other guys, you need more bodies in there, and guys that have been around the NFL have learned NFL route trees and can run the correct routes. It puts a lot on your young guys when you start losing these different bodies in camp of guys that can make sure you're running the right routes, because you do need to have the entire offense be able to practice. So that's who they brought in. They cut him. They cut Mikey's cousin, which is Sebastian Gutierrez. I don't know if they're actually cousins, but look, my family's part of the Gonzalez family, and we have like 8 million cousins. So I'm just gonna say your cousins. Like, my mom will text me, be like, pray for your cousin and this one, and I'm like, which cousin is that? I don't know how the family tree is, and she'd be like, well, it's your 4th cousin, twice removed, their sister. I'm like, okay,
from the mailman. Yeah.
Yeah, so but then they also cut Malik Knowles and safety Jalen Mahoney. Now, Jalen Mahoney, I remember he was in camp last year. He ended up being, I think he was a practice squad guy in the end. I was not impressed with his preseason. Really poor angles for safety in tackling. So not surprised that Jalen Mahoney hasn't been able to stick. But they activated, the big news was that they activated Ben Barch from the NFI list. And not only that, The day they activated him off the NFI, he was immediately running with the ones at the left guard spot, not Nick Zakelj.
Let's go.
That is what we had been saying pretty much since last year, that Ben Bartch's performance, like people would say, well, it's in the snow and it was just one performance. His performance in that Bills game was so good and such a refresher from what we had seen with Aaron Banks struggling, that's why the 49ers had no problem letting Aaron Banks walk, and Ben Bartch has been slotted into that role. Now people say, well, they got to stay healthy. Okay, that was the same thing with Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks is in and out. You can't sit here and say, well, we can't just hope that a guy's going to stay healthy. Well, you really do. Like you have limitations. You have cap limitations. You can't get, starters at double level on your team the whole way around. So you slot him in there, and then you bring in his best competition behind him with Drew Moss and Colby and Nick Zakelj. So I think that the interior offensive line has the potential this year to be deeper than it has been before. Spencer Burford's still there. They gave him more guaranteed money this year, so they're going to keep him around. But he's got a lot of experience. There has been some deficiencies there with Spencer, but at the same point, this now I think brings more competition to Spencer Burford to even be on the team than there was before. So I think this is a deeper offensive line group, safer tackle, that the 49ers have had in a long time. Now, Ben Bartch can also play tackle. Remember that he is a converted tackle. Dude's tall. So he's probably going to be your left guard and also an emergency tackle. And we'll see who kind of pops out as that swing tackle. They may give Spencer Burford those options. I don't like Spencer Burford as a tackle. I think last year he showed some decent things at guard again, especially left guard. That's where he had played for a long, long time on the left side. But the reps he got at left tackle was not good. So that's how I feel about it. But Ben Bartch being there, I'm super excited about that. That alone tells me that Trent Williams, if he's there all year, Ben Bartch at left guard, and Dominic Puni taking another step, this offensive line is going to be better than last year. And last year they were a mid of the pack group. So we're talking that they're going to be, kind of right on the fringe of a top 10 group. People don't want to hear that, but that is really truly what I feel is that when you look at how this offensive line is, they should be a lot better, and they should look better with a different running back. And I know a lot of people really love Jordan Mason. I love the attitude that he brought, the physicality that he brought. I didn't love the patience that he brought in this running scheme. And I went over that yesterday with stats over on our show. You can go over there and check that out. We broke down a bunch of red zone runs and the issues that were there in the red zone that we were having last year. And really a lot of it came down to, you didn't have Christian McCaffrey as an elite back and somebody who understands the details, absolute details of this running game and opposing defenses. There was a reason Jordan Mason was always running back number 3 on our depth chart. We forget that even though he was averaging over 5 yards a carry last year, that he was running back number 3. The only reason he was starting was because Christian McCaffrey was down and Elijah Mitchell was down. If Elijah Mitchell had been healthy, Jordan Mason would have been running back number 2 in this offense. So, and then Isaac Guerendo is running back number 4. So, they were getting deep into the running back depth chart, and that really did affect our run game. Guys just didn't understand how to press the hole, where their head stripe needed to be pointed, all those things. And that makes your offensive line look worse.
Yeah, I'm really excited the way the offensive line, if I shift from the wide receivers, what's going on there, and shift to the offensive line, which has been, we've talked on this show for freaking 12 months about the offensive line, like, oh man. And so, yeah, this can shape up to be really good. Speaking of the wide receivers, real quick, did you see on Twitter from 95.7 The Game is where I caught it, that Ricky Pearsall is open to meeting with the teenager that shot him? And I just thought, wow, what a mature thing. I don't know. Look, I'm 44. I don't know if I would have the mature. double this guy's age. I don't know if I would have the maturity to say like, yeah, I'll meet with that guy. Like, I just think that's a character thing. That's pretty cool. I don't know if you saw that, Johnny.
Yeah, I've seen that, and a big shout out to Terrardome. He put this on X too. I appreciate the kind words and the shout out. Go check out Terrardome. He's got a great YouTube channel. Go watch him. He does some really good stuff over there, and appreciate him. He's usually in the chat. Look, I think it speaks to Ricky Pearsall's character, and that's what we'd heard about him for a while. I think we need to also be careful not to just say, well, yeah, that's who Ricky Pearsall is. That doesn't mean it's any less extraordinary that he's not harboring this sort of ill will, especially for somebody who derailed his career at this point, who caused him a lot of pain, and that most likely Ricky Pearsall's been working through PTSD on this. I mean, that's no little thing.
Right.
And so the fact that he's not harboring that ill will speaks to his character and who he is, and that he wants to meet with the kid. And it also does speak to the circumstances. I don't think he felt that the kid was truly trying to hurt him. Yes, he shot him. I mean, you're generally trying to hurt somebody if you shoot him, but I mean, they were fighting over it and it was a scuffle. And I don't think he meant to he was really there. Probably the kid never intended to actually use the weapon. Panicked in the moment and was expecting him to just hand over his stuff when he presented a weapon and it just, things got out of hand pretty quickly.
Right.
But I think he said it after it happened that he hoped it doesn't ruin the kid's life forever. But there just does need to be consequences that come with these things, but it just speaks to who he is. And I'm, really proud that Ricky Pearsall is a kid on our team.
Yeah, that was exactly my take too. Just really cool to see. Michael Norris says, take some grit to meet the person who tried to off you face to face. Like, yeah, I mean, he could have died. Anytime you get shot, I don't care what the situation is, there is a chance that you can die. So I mean, it's just the way it is. Like, that's really cool. Yeah, handling it every night before bed. Like,
yeah, he said he thinks about it every night. I mean,
gosh.
I mean, we got to remember that even among the X's and O's, these guys are all human. And so, it's kind of like one coach I saw, he put it this way. He said, it's not about what it's what they can do. And, this game is not a game of perfection. It's not a game of Madden where you just program in what the routes are going to be and everybody runs it exactly the way it's supposed to be. These are all humans and they have things to work through. And so these things are part of processing through when you're asking a guy to get into his playbook between 7 and 10 p.m. and the things that they're dealing with back at home when they're away from the team and that kind of stuff, it all factors into it. And so, these guys are human.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, let's get into real quick. I want to remind everyone, make sure you hit the notification bell. That is probably why you are watching even right now. And when you show your phone to people wearing Niner gear, make sure you show them the channel and make sure they hit the notification bell so they can be notified when Johnny drops new content.
And soon, I also want to plug this. This is upcoming. If you're looking for new 49ers gear, Monday, hopefully, I will have it all set up that we will have a discount code through Fanatics.
Ooh.
So be ready for that. If you're looking for some new gear this year, Lisa coming into the super chat. She asked me, will I ever go to training camp? So I've been asked that a few times. A couple of things on that. One, I have to see some value in what I can bring to the conversation, not value in going to training camp, period. There are some great content creators that are there. People like Steph Sanchez, people like Brad Graham. You have all the beat reporters. You have, I think Sterling Bennett has been going to camp as well. There are people who are there at camp and they're giving us the reports and they're keeping us updated via X and stuff. And they're doing a great job. I have to look at it as, okay, several of those guys are there in California. For me, Steph isn't. She travels from Colorado, but for me, I'm traveling from Alabama, and it's going to be several days away from my family. and some pretty high costs. But is me being there, am I going to be able to provide some insight that some others can't? I don't know if I'll be able to, especially hearing about the way the practice field has been set up. Like, I don't think I could see exactly what's going on it. So I don't know if I would actually bring the value that would be there, and then is the return on that value there. I would love to be able to be at a 49ers training camp. I just don't know if that's the best use of my time at this point. So that's why also John Chapman hasn't gone to camp this year, and I know Wayne has skipped camp this year for the same things. Like it's something you'd love to be at, but can you justify the expense and the time away for the value that you add there? And I don't think I add that kind of value in being there. That's just personally how I feel about it. If like United Airlines wanted to sponsor me to go to 49ers training camp, I did reach out, and United told me, well, we're not doing anything at this time, but we will keep you in mind. And I was like, okay, well, great. But if that was to happen, maybe it would be in the cards. But as of right now, there are no plans to go to training camp.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Great movie.
Yes.
So, okay, let's get into the, it was really cool to see that play call sheet, man. I'm excited to see your
so if we're wondering what breakdown. We're talking about, this is that there's that laminated sheet with all the different colors that is there, that we see these coaches always holding over their mouthpiece so that opposing teams can't have somebody with binoculars reading their lips and know what the play calls are, sort of a thing. I don't know if that's really truly a thing. I think at some points it had to have developed somewhere. Like somebody had to have actually done that and radioed down what some of the play calls were for this to become a thing. Like it really did have to come from somewhere. But it's always been like this, what is on that play call sheet? Like what is this sort of foreign language thing that is sitting there and we don't know? So recently I've been going back through a lot of some of the old 49ers stuff, because Frank Gore has been nominated as a first ballot guy to the Hall of Fame this year. I will say Frank Gore needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, just looking at like some of the accolades that different people got that are in the Hall of Fame right now, that Frank Gore needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you cannot.
I wish Roger Craig was there first.
I do, but I could understand why Frank Gore had more of a Hall of Fame worthy career than Roger Craig. I mean, we forget exactly how good
yardage alone.
Sometimes, I mean, bulk yardage alone, but the fact that he was so consistent over time. And so I've been going back, and some people have seen it on my X. I've been watching the old 2011 Harbaugh 49ers offense with Greg Roman. Now it's kind of something to watch, the passing game and just the struggles that they had there was something. And people talk about the 49ers facing a stack box right now with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, my goodness, with that 2011 Harbaugh team and what Frank Gore was able to do that season in a 16-game season against what was like 90% of the time. I mean, I know it wasn't really truly that high, but just teams that were so focused on him. My goodness, yes. I mean, dude, the fact that he was still able to have nearly 1,200 yards in that offense is so impressive. Yeah. And, I talked about at the beginning, or kind of midway through the show, how running back can make an offensive line look better. Frank Gore made that offensive line look better. He made Mike Upati look better. He made Alex Boone look better. He made Jonathan Goodwin look better. He made all those guys. He made Anthony Davis look better. The one guy he didn't necessarily make look better because he was awesome by his own was Joe Staley. And watching the stuff that Greg Roman was doing with Joe Staley, I was like, there's no other tackle, I think, in the history of the game that could do what Joe Staley was being asked to do. The things he was being asked as far as pulling, sifting around, like the mobility was just wild. So, but anyways, I've been going back through that, and I dove into some of that old stuff, and I pulled out some of Greg Roman's old play call sheets. So this is from the 2011 Philly game. This is the final of what of what the play call sheet actually looks like. So this is the front page, and then there was the back page. And this, so you can see this is pretty much everything that's on there. I'll back it up just a little bit. It's hard to see from there because by the time you get it all, but you can see as I zoom in, these are all different plays. You have the formation and then the play. So this is all the verbiage that goes in there. Strong right, open Y shin, head to Y red, rattle X Venus. So X Venus is a route. If you ever remember, was it John Gruden talking about Spider 2Y banana? He was like, you never throw the Venus on Spider 2Y banana. There's the Venus. It's the same nomenclature as far as some of the routes and stuff. But these are what the plays look like. You have over here 300J. That's the pass protection. Z Dragon, which is so on the split or flanker side, they're going to dragon, which is a slant flat. U spacing, so on the U receiver side, which is going to be Delaney Walker in this offense. It's a spacing concept. So you have Z Dragon, U spacing, and that's a 3-step play. So how they break this down is this is also how the install works. So you have on here, you have a section of 3-step drop plays. You have a section of 5-step drop plays. So these are going to be your quick game. These are going to be your 5 steps. So that's your intermediate game. Then you come down and there's a 7-step, and there's only one 7-step play that they installed. Then you have your empty sets. You have your double running back packages. That was Frank Gore and Kendall Hunter, if you remember back to that time, number 32. So you have a package of plays for those 2 running backs. Then coming up, you have your play action passes. So all of your play action passes. Down you have your gimmies. So these are, okay, we're struggling. We need to get some offense rolling. So you have a special package of plays that is just your gimmies that okay, we're going to get cover 3. We're going to get 3-4 yards. We just need to get something. So you have some gimmies. These are kind of what they consider drive starters. So you have a package of gimmies. Then you have your specials. These are some of your trick plays that you have that are going to be there. So you have a flea flicker in here. You have Y sneak, which is off of it's a counter. We run it a lot of time. We usually call it Y leak. You have your screen pass plays, those packages that. Now you have your running game. Running game, obviously, with the 49ers and Frank Gore. Very robust. You have a lot of robust running plays here. Then you have your situational third down. You have third through 2 and 3 to go. 3rd, 4th, and 6th. So 3rd and medium, 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, 3rd through 7 and 9. You have a package of plays for that. And 3rd and 10 plus. And so those are your 3rd and very long. Then you have your short yardage plays, which is going to be 1 and less to go. You have your short yardage passes. You have those. You have your goal line runs and your goal line passes. So that's goal line. So that's right up on the goal line. So this is how the install works through the week. So we understand what the workloads are on quarterbacks, coordinators, position coaches, all the position players. Is they're going to start out the beginning of the week. They're going to start doing some of the run game and probably 3-step. That's going to be Wednesday. Thursday, they're going to start doing 5-step. They're going to do the rest of the play action. They're going to do more of the running game. Thursday, they're going to start installing your 3rd down packages because you have just everything for 3rd down packages. Then, Friday, then Saturday is usually red zone and goal line. So this is on the back. So that was the front. This is now the back. And on the back, you have your openers. So this is the scripted portion. So that's plays pulled from the front of the sheet that come to your scripted plays. These are the scripted plays that go in there for the opening. You have your 2-minute offense all in the gun. So that's your 2-minute offense. You have your 2-minute calls there. And it's pretty long. You have your end of game closers. You have your 2-minute, your huddle plays. So you have 2-minute, which is no huddle, and you have 2-minute huddle. You have additional 2-minute huddle. You have your 4-minute offense plays over here. So this is all situational. These are plays pulled from the front that are now in the back and some extras thrown in there that are your situational. You have backed up. So that's within your own 5-yard line. You have a special package of plays from that. You have plays from last play from +5. These are the last plays of the game. So this is situational again. So last play in your 5 yards, your 5 or more yards out, 10 or more yards out, 15 to 10. You're at 25 to 15. You're from the fringe of field goal range. You're at Hail Marys, hook and ladders, boundary plays that you're trying to get out of bounds, and your last 6. So that's what you have there. You have red zone, fringe to plus 40 to 26. So that's what this is over here. So you have on the bordering of red zone 25 to 21, red zone 20 to 16. These all have their own package of plays. Red zone 15 to 11, red zone 10 to 6, red zone 5 to 3, and then your 2-point plays. So when we're talking red zone install, it's this entire column on the left that is in gold, that you see the gold headers. That's all red zone. So so that's why red zone takes up an entire day itself. And they've got to get through all of that in one day in their team installs, their position installs, their practice time, then their review, and then the players have to go home and review all this. So this is a huge amount of data for everybody. And just so we understand what teams are running in that. And so there's all sorts of things in there. This is what a play sheet actually looks like. So when you see those and you see all the different colors, and then they'll make notes on these. Sometimes it's we've run this play. It's to remind you we've run this play over here. So with Kyle Shanahan and a lot of coaches, if you notice, there was a mental study done several decades ago that found that red was a color that people remember more than any other color. So that's why teachers will mark corrections in red. And if you notice, most of your coaches in the NFL, the Sharpie that they're using to mark on their play sheets is red. And that's what it's about. It's to help them remember things through the game. So yeah, you got a bunch of stuff. I just want to zoom in here because this is my favorite play ever. And if you've seen my stuff, here it is. Spider 2Y banana right there. Spider 2Y banana. Love that. It's great. It's a 3rd and 2 to 3 play because the primary is the fullback in the flat. Love Spider 2Y banana. It's my favorite one. Yeah. So it's green right, wing tight, U left, Spider 2Y banana, Boz U flat. So that's what all that is. Love it. Love it. Love it. I know that's a lot of information we just threw at everybody, but people often sometimes want me to dive into this kind of stuff, the real detail stuff of what goes into all this stuff and everything. So there you go.
Okay, Gruden.
and what I find really fun is like some of these play calls, you can see, the imprint of it, and it just brings up the memories. So you have 3J Vernon Short Bang ex Colorado. So that's a play specifically written up for Vernon Davis that you see that like there's going to be Vernon in there, and there's like Delaney in here that you see, and some where it's going to be Hunter, which is Kendall Hunter, specifically plays for them that you see in here, which is fun to see and just kind of like brings you back. I like this over here from the red zone 25 to 21 300J Lion X Dragon. That's just a slant, flat, and double slant. Classic Bill Walsh right there. Love to see that. We run it as well, and it's called the same thing, still called Lion and Dragon. So love to see that stuff. Oh, there's Delaney. So there's 3J F Storm, Delaney shallow, H wide.
Yeah.
So Delaney's running a shallow cross. It's part of a shallow crossing concept. So yep, love it. An old air raid play there.
Part of the whys and the hows, the ins and the outs. Yeah. Love seeing that stuff. This is what this channel is about. So guys, this is why I tell you all the time, if you see people wearing Niners gear, go up to them and show them your phone and say, hey man, have you seen this channel? Because that is one of the best ways to support. It's just so cool what this channel brings. Love being a part of it. Johnny, this is super cool.
So I will address this. Kyle doesn't run the West Coast offense. He has elements of it, but it's not West Coast. Yes and no. I mean, so there's very few teams running like a traditional West Coast offense, like we think of with from Bill or Mike Holmgren. From that, Mike McCarthy is probably the closest to it right now. The West Coast offense itself was pretty static. but it's, there was no side adjustments. It was a static offense. And Sterling Sharp talked about that many years ago on the NFL Network, that he was talking about that it is not a side adjust offense, that those adjustments have to be made by the quarterback. And whereas the 49ers offense is a side adjustment offense, and I've talked about that and shown some of the playbook plays, we have a lot of that. That's pretty much how most of the league is gone. Even Mike McCarthy has that now. And so that would be like the biggest difference between the traditional West Coast and this. West Coast was really, there's been so many iterations of it, of like what the West Coast offense is. It's mostly now going to be nomenclature, because everybody runs these sort of concepts. Like most teams are running these concepts. It's just, what do you call it and how do you package these? So like, if we go back to Jimmy Ray, when he was here with Mike Singletary, he used a digit offense. So when you would have these play sheets and these play calls, the names of the play calls weren't going to be like Vernon Throwback Sale or J Lion X Dragon. It was going to be a digit system. So like in my high school system, that was going to be 1-1, and then it would be 2 and 1. So you'd have, whatever you call out the formation, and it was going to be 1-1, 2-1. That would be how you called it out. And 1 was a slant. So it's saying double slant, and then 2-1. Yeah. So that was flat and then slant. So it's telling receivers left to right what routes they're running. And so you hear that with like different routes being called a bang 8. That's going to be a stop dig route, is what a bang 8 is, but Kyle's going to call that a Dover route. So it has a different name to it. So there's the digit type systems where they're going to run off digit numbers where they do that. Whereas the West Coast was more like you have Lion and Dragon, which the Lion is a concept of combination 2 routes, double slant. Dragon is drag plus Lion. So drag was to the flat, and then Lion being your slant. So that's a slant flat. So you have that. You have Delaney shallow, meaning Delaney's side is a shallow crossing concept with H going wide. There's F storm, which is so on the F side, there's a storm concept, and then Delaney's on a shallow concept. So it's more about your nomenclature. They're all mostly running the same passing concepts, but it's how you do that. The big difference between like traditional West Coast and what Kyle has done is he's followed in his dad with the wide zone, that everything's wide zone based. And so, there's different ways. New England, with the Earhart Perkins, didn't run necessarily a digit system. It was just different nomenclature. So everything was called something different. And then the air raid offense, which was like Mike Martz, was a different nomenclature system. So like, and again, this follows everything from your route combinations through your motion movements. So like in the 49ers, they'll say Z left in a Mike Martz offense means a passing play. Z left in a West Coast offense means the Z goes in motion to the left. So that's how things can be different, and there'll be different alerts. So that's what that's the biggest thing I would say is, and Kyle, I remember being asked about that in 2017. He was like, so you're bringing the West Coast offense back, and he was, and you run the West Coast offense. And he's like, it's not the effing West Coast offense. I don't run the effing West Coast offense. Like, it's just it's like yes and no. I mean, he's running a lot of West Coast concepts, but the way everything was kind of buttoned together and the staticness of West Coast really doesn't exist anymore. It was very groundbreaking for its time, especially in how there was a lot of horizontal stretches in the passing game, and there was a lot of horizontal movement. Whereas that didn't really exist before. It was like power running and then vertical passing. And Bill Walsh was like, I'm going to spread everybody out wide. And we're going to have, and we're going to do mirrored concepts. It was very, very common in the West Coast. So you'd have what's called pick a side reads or PAS plays. And John Gruden's playbook is full of PAS reads. And it was based upon where's the mic going to shade. And so from there, that's going to determine which side I read. We don't really run those anymore. We do have some of them, like in our 2-minute. I remember the Tampa Bay game last year. Brock did a 2-minute. We had pick a sides. So it was like double sticks. That's like West Coast. That's very, very old West Coast, is double sticks on both sides, double stick concepts. So that's how it rolls.
every single NFL team has a portion or some things that they do that is the West Coast offense. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, because
little at least.
Yeah, and they're gonna call different concepts different things. Like I mean, what Kyle calls sales, somebody might call Seattle, which still comes off the same basis. It's an S word for the sale route, but they're going to call the same thing. So, or they call two different things. So it comes down to that. That's the biggest thing when guys switch systems, and then it also can adjust what reads are number one and number two on the same exact route combinations, where they line guys up. It's all that kind of stuff. Like it's just it's a lot of data that when you're making little changes over 400 plays, it really does change a lot of it. So it's a lot for different people to digest, especially this is what makes it so hard when you're going from system to system to system, is your mind starts like trying to translate. It's like learning English and then French and then Russian, and you're trying to translate somebody speaking to you in Russian all the time. You're constantly trying to translate that Russian back to English. And so all of them will say the same thing, and three different words mean the same thing. You're trying to always translate it back to what feels comfortable to you. So until you become extremely fluent in that one language, it's going to be harder. Now, what's easier for Trey Lance is that a lot of this language from Kyle Shanahan to Greg Roman is going to be the same. And same thing with into Mike McCarthy. Like a lot of this language, lion dragon, he like slant flat, double slant has been the same for him from Kyle to Mike McCarthy to Jim Harbaugh. That's what's been helpful.
So I want to ask you, this is just off the cuff. I'm literally just curious, and I'm sure the faithful in the chat want to know too. Is there a coach or coordinator that you look at in the game right now that, with your knowledge of football, that you say, in a perfect world, I would love to sit in a room with this guy, or I would love to see him either calling plays for the Niners or being in the Niners organization because of this guy's football brain? Is there anyone in the league?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would love to sit down with any of these guys. I mean, these guys know far more than I do, and there's a reason they get into all this stuff. I mean, I would love to sit down with Greg Roman, and not as much in the passing game. Greg Roman, going back and looking at his run game, I mean, Greg Roman, there was a reason that during that stretch that people were calling him the mad scientist, because his run games have been very creative, really creative, and really knowing how to use the tools he has in the run game. That's why he continues to be an NFL coordinator. That's why he's been with winning teams and teams that like to run the ball. You look at Harbaugh with the 49ers, and he went to the Ravens for a while with Lamar Jackson. He went to the Buffalo Bills, and he's been now back with the Chargers. And that, the run game has always been very strong wherever he's been. I would love to sit down with him and talk through the run game and the details of that. When you look at run game coordinators in the league, I think it's going to be Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, Greg Roman are your real, top three run game guys. That everybody's going to be looking at their stuff to figure out what they're doing in the run game, because it's such a part of their offenses, and they're so creative in how they do that. I would love to sit down with Nick Saban and look at defensive stuff. My goodness. I mean, you talk about one of the smartest defensive minds in football, period, not just NFL or college, but period, over the last 50 years, Nick Saban. Everybody in the NFL uses something from Nick Saban. There's systems in the NFL that are almost fully Nick Saban based. Raheem Morris is one of those, where he's in Atlanta right now. In LA that with the Rams, that's what they run. They run a Nick Saban system. So, that's what I would love to sit down with Nick Saban. I'd love to sit down with Kyle. I don't think he would be that open with me, and I think he's usually a guy that's got a little bit too much on his plate, and he doesn't seem like the sit down and kind of teach you this stuff kind of guy. I love to sit down with his dad, and because he would, and just pick his brain for like 3 straight weeks. Mike McDaniel, I'd love to sit down with Mike McDaniel. because I think he'd just be fun to hang out with.
Oh, he's goofy. Yeah.
And like, I think we would really get along. I'd love to sit down with Steve Spagnuolo and what he does on the defense. Because he seems like a guy that would give you some time, like a really generous guy that would be able to do that. I mean, there's
Shane
so many guys.
I think is a guy like that.
Yeah.
Shane Steichen, I think, would sit down with you. Seems like that kind of guy too. Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, there's certain guys that like don't necessarily intrigue you based on the team that they're with and their situation. It's like, okay, they're not going to be that good this year, whatever. But I wasn't sure if there was some that came to mind where you're like, oh, I like we gave this guy a hard time in Jacksonville, Duval.
Yeah,
but like
Liam Cohen. But I wouldn't necessarily be like, yeah, let's hang out, bro. Let's go to Steak and Shake. Like,
no. But I'm saying, as far as like, okay, let's see what he can do. Like he's proven he can. He knows a bit about offense, and I'm curious to see what Jacksonville does. They have some playmakers, so yeah.
Yeah, to answer Dr. Steve's question here, didn't Saban basically create match coverage? Yes, him and Bill Belichick. It was, the history goes back to the Browns. They were 1 year, they were 15-1, or no, 14-2. Their 2 losses were division losses to the Steelers. They went to the playoffs, were bounced out of the playoffs by the Steelers. They lost to the Steelers 3 times in 1 year. They had a top 5 defense. They were that early 90s Browns team was actually a lot better than everybody ever remembers.
Yeah.
But the issue that they had was that Pittsburgh, as they always have been and always will be, are a strong running team and a vertical passing team. So what they were dealing with was that they would, to be able to defend against the run, they had to be in cover 3. So to bring an 8th man into the box. But once they would do that, the Steelers, they had some really fast wide receivers. They would come out and they would run just a play called 4 verticals. So it's 4 vertical routes. And so you put 4 receivers into an area where there's 3 defenders. It's cover 3. So there's 3 deep, 4 vertical routes, and they would just stretch that deep safety every time. And they would run 4 verts. And so they couldn't stop him on 4 verts. And then he would say, so then you go cover 2. Well, then they start running on you. Well, you can't go back to cover 3 because they're running 4 verts on you. So now we go cover 1 because that's the only way that we can carry these guys down the field and be able to do that. And then we go cover 1 this is Nick Saban's direct quote. He said, if their men's are better than your men's, then you can't run cover 1 because it's man coverage. And their men's were better than our men's. And so he would try and run cover 1, but then his guys couldn't cover these Steelers wide receivers on slants, on comeback routes, on curls. Just they'd get beat every time. So they got beat by the Steelers because they could either defend against the pass or defend against the run, but they couldn't do both. So what he came up with was that him and Bill in the offseason that year, they looked at it and they started saying, well, what if we start matching and carrying these certain routes with our linebackers so that past a certain point, they figured out what the arm strength was that they at 12 yards past that point where the ball would actually land, that their safety based upon his measurables could cover both routes at the same time, could close the gap so that linebackers then would start carrying routes to a cutoff point at 12 yards before handing it off, or sometimes just carry all the way if they ran 4 verts. And so that's what they did. That was Rip and Liz, and that turned into which was a matching form of cover 3, and then they turned it into the cover 3 Mabel as they were starting adding more of these in there. That's where it started and where it really went. So yeah, in that sense, it was he was the father of those matching coverages, and then matching 7s and 4s and 2s. Really, 7's a form of matching 4, and all the checks within that. And over time, that built out for as the different ways that people were looking at attacking that. And that's why, like, a lot of the things the Chargers were doing with was with us last year. Brandon Staley was very Nick Saban based in that, and a lot of their matching coverages was that way. Seattle, Pete Carroll borrowed a ton from Nick Saban in the way that the cover 3 ran with the old Rip Liz. That he did that from Saban and mainly cover 3 Mabel. So I mean, a lot of these things have been borrowed over time, but everybody looked to Nick Saban at Alabama and said, how are you accounting for 3x1s, 4x1s? How are you accounting for 3x1s out by the numbers? Like, how are you accounting for that stuff? And so everybody's looked at that and borrowed from Nick Saban or Kirby Smart, like, because Kirby Smart and Nick Saban together, and then Kirby obviously going to Georgia. Everybody looked to them and said, okay, how are you doing this? Because those guys they have to do it in a way, especially that players only getting 20 hours in during the week can do. And that's the big challenge here. So everybody would look to them.
So I gotta laugh because I agree with Dr. Steve, who says this is why this channel is so elite. You're the best. And I laugh because I just literally, during live on the show, just had it in me to, just as friends, to ask you, because we talk about some of these things before and after the show, to be honest. And I was just thinking it, and so I asked a simple question about coaching, and boom, this last 5 minutes, the chat's blowing up about their favorite coaches. You're going, like, you're getting into some deep stuff with coaching, and it's like, you know what, this is why the channel is great. Like, just getting into the intricacies of different topics, like just flat out coaching and different things that coaches bring and have brought, and how teams run their system. And it is why we love this channel. Very fun. Oh, Lisa asked, Johnny, did you hear on Kay Adams' show her interview with Debo? And she asked him basically if he enjoyed Kyle's scheme more or Cliff's.
I haven't seen that specifically, and she said Debo said he liked Cliff's more. Well, look,
of course he's gonna say that.
One, he can't come out there and say,
yeah, he likes the former. Which
I
girlfriend do you like? The
prefer...
one you're with now, or the girlfriend that you were with last year? Which girlfriend do you like better? Yeah, okay.
Right. Now, generally, what the political answer would be is, hey, both these guys are great, and they're great in their own ways. We're going to do some great stuff this year. That's
Yeah.
not Debo. Debo's just gonna be like, yeah, they can get me the ball more in this one.
Yeah.
Basically any offense,
especially if Terry's not there, Scary Terry, if he's asking for a
says
trade.
we're going to get you the ball more. We're not going to ask you to run a bunch of clear off routes, because that's what Kyle was asking him to do. A lot of that. Kyle was asking him to do a lot of blocking. Debo, there was a lot of missed blocks from Debo over the years. And I'm sure Kyle was pretty hard on him. They were close, and Kyle's talked about that. Debo's talked about that. They were close. But he doesn't have to do that kind of stuff as much. I don't think they're going to be using Scary Terry to run a lot more of those clear off routes.
They hope. And Washington hopes they are.
Yeah, and so Debo's gonna, when he goes deep, it's gonna be, I'm supposed to get the ball. Like, a lot of Kyle's deep routes are not even in the progressions. That's just the way they are. They're more of alerts. Like, and that's why sometimes you'll see a bust and somebody be running free deep down the field, and the quarterback doesn't see it, and everybody goes, what are they doing? Why are they not taking this shot? And you go, well, that's just not part of this offense. This offense is about high percentage plays. We want that. That's why Brock Purdy has been number one in yards per attempt over the last two years, going back to 2023, because they're high percentage completions. So yeah, you may not get the yards per catch, but you're going to get yards per attempt, because you're going to get that. And it's going to be about getting the ball in your playmakers' hands so that they can do elite things with the ball, and they can hit a crease and they can go. You're going to be asked to make more tough catches. There's going to be times where you're going to go over the middle and you're going to get blown up. That's just a fact in this offense. If you execute everything right, you're going to go over the middle and you're going to keep running. You're going to go for 45 yards after you get the ball in your hands. So, I could understand why Debo would say that. It's more of a wide receiver friendly offense. Kyle requires a lot of his wide receivers, with them not having the ball in their hands. And so I think there's probably some of that plays into it.
One thing I want to invite you guys to do that can help the algorithm is pick a video over the last however many years that Johnny's been doing this, click it, and then comment something that jumped out to you while watching the video. That helps the algorithm. And I want to get Johnny out of here on this question. Louis Riddick this morning said that Scary Terry is a name that the 49ers, among other teams, could be looking at. Louis Riddick. Now, that's not just some guy. I mean, he knows the NFL. Is that anything? Is there a reason why he would say that? He didn't say all 32 teams. He gave like 4 teams, and the 49ers were among those teams.
I think it's because people reading the tea leaves and just kind of, what makes sense out here. Who would make sense to trade for Terry McLaurin with there being mostly as a contract impasse, very much like, Debo goes from the 49ers last year with the impasse that they had, the long holdout with Ayuk into training camp, goes to the Commanders, and now is at an impasse with Terry McLaurin. Same thing. And a lot of it's because they have money tied up in Debo. It's just like, okay, you go from whatever. But I just think it's kind of reading the tea leaves of that, of who looks kind of thin at wide receiver. The 49ers, obviously. They just paid their quarterback a lot of money, but you got Juwan Jennings dealing with a calf issue. Don't know when Brandon Ayuk's going to be back. After that, nobody else knows outside of 49ers fandom and beat writers. Nobody else knows the 49ers wide receivers. Nobody else around here is hearing buzz about Jordan Watkins.
No.
Like, if you ask a Cardinals content creator, say, who's a standout wide receiver for the 49ers out of their training camp, they're going to go, maybe, I guess Ricky Pearsall would make sense. They might know that because it was a first round pick. Outside of that, they're not going to know Jordan Watkins has been having a really strong camp. So just looking at that, they're going to say the 49ers make sense. I don't see it happening because the 49ers are not with the kind of cap clearing they did this last year. They are looking towards younger and rookie contract guys, not high, big money receivers, like established veteran receivers. Terry McLaurin's wanting probably $34 million a year. That's just what he's probably asking for. The 49ers apparently haven't been still super comfortable with paying Brandon Ayuk 27, right? 28. They're not going to be comfortable now turning around and paying Terry McLaurin $6 million more a year. They weren't super excited about paying Debo 23 a year. And if you look at the difference on that, you're paying about the same amount per game that they would expect to be available. So like, they weren't comfortable with that per game in Debo. They're not going to be paying Terry McLaurin $34 million a year. It's not happening. They have Ricky Pearsall there. They believe in him. They're trying to get an extension done with Juwan Jennings. Those are their 3 guys. Like, those are their 3 receivers. Everybody else has got to be cheap. So they're not going to be sending Juwan Jennings to the Commanders. I mean, look, I love Juwan Jennings, but if you're the Commanders and you have a choice between Terry McLaurin and Juwan Jennings, what are you going to ask for in return for that? It's not going to be a straight up trade. Like you were saying, give me a second round pick and Juwan Jennings. That's what you're saying. If you want Terry McLaurin, and the 49ers would have to do that, give up Juwan Jennings and pay Terry McLaurin 34 or 35 million a year. I mean, I would not be surprised if Terry McLaurin wants to reset the wide receiver market right now. Like, I think that's what the impasse is.
I mean, he's not Justin Jefferson. He's not, in that threshold.
Yeah, but he's saying that the cap is higher than it was last year. So you pay me 33, you're paying me like 8% less than Justin Jefferson. That's what he's going to say.
Yeah, that's interesting to see what happens. That's the main thing. Him and Micah Parsons are my 2 like guys in the league right now who are, you got to keep an eye out on what's happening. But very cool.
Yeah, the Micah situation's fascinating because it's gotten personal, very much like Debo's did and Ayuk's did. It's gotten really,
which with Jerry Jones, it's going
to.
I mean, just the fact that it's Jerry, it gets personal in that way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the nastiness of the business. I mean, it really, these things do get personal in there. They try and stay out of it, but at some point, somebody's got to come out and push something to start creating movement and justifying to the fans who they're asking to turn around and buy their gear and buy a Micah Parsons jersey of why
give them the money.
Because I mean, look, merchandise is a huge portion of NFL income, a huge portion. And it's not the shared revenue portion. We have to remember that ticket sales, merchandise are not shared revenue. Shared revenue is the broadcasting rights for the games. the merchandising, team specific merchandising and ticket sales, concessions, all of that stays in each team. And so when the salary cap's allotted, it's based upon the overall. So you may have a team that's being allotted a salary cap that their difference between the salary cap and their actual earnings is maybe $100 million less than, say, a team like the Cowboys, who sit there and pour out and are selling huge amounts of merchandise. So if you're Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons made you $25 million last year in jersey sales, you don't want that to decrease. And your fans are going to say, I'm not buying any more jerseys until he signs. Why aren't you signing him? And I pay good money to show up at these games. He's going to turn around and say, it's not me. It's not me. It's the player. He's being difficult to deal with. Like, that's what you're going to do.
And I will admit that he's not being difficult. I think I don't like Micah Parsons. I don't like his podcast. I don't like anything about him, but I will admit, I don't think it's him. I just don't in this. It's definitely Jerry Jones being weird.
Well, that's what happens when you pay Dak Prescott $62 million a year. And Dak Prescott's like an $80 million cap figure this year. That's what happens. So Jerry doesn't have anybody to blame on this, but Jerry and this stupid contract he gave to Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Quiffleball says Jerry Jones making things personal. No, go on. I'm intrigued. Like, yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's Jerry Jones, and I many of us have despised Jerry Jones since the 90s. Yeah. But I mean, look, Dak Prescott's a $50 million cap figure this year. His pro-rated signing bonus on this season is $48.5 million. That's why he can't pay Dak. That's why he doesn't want to pay Micah Parsons right now.
Yeah.
That's why. Like, that's what it's about. So,
yeah.
Because you know what Dak Prescott's dead cap is right now if he was to be lost? $180 million.
Pocket change for old Jerry.
Yeah. And you know what Dak's cap number is next year? $74 million. That's his cap number next year.
Yeah.
With already a $34 million prorated signing bonus as part of that.
The Cowboys find a way to handcuff themselves with Jerry Jones. There's no, it's just him. It's just Jerry. There's no brass section. It's just him. And it's a lot.
Well, there's nobody sitting there saying, Jerry, you can't actually commit to Dak that. Because that's what he's done. He's basically locked himself into, he has to commit to Dak for the next 10 years. Because here's what's going to happen. Next year, and this is why this contract impasse is happening with Micah Parsons. I know we've kind of headed out on a rabbit trail with the Cowboys. But look, this impacts, it just brings us into perspective of what's happened with the 49ers contract negotiations and speaks to the way that they took care of business in a positive way this year with George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Fred Warner and Brock Purdy, is that next year Dak has a $74 million cap hit. He's a $40 million base salary. Most likely they're going to convert $30 million of his base salary into signing bonus. They're going to add another 2 years to his contract. And what that means is that will lower then the prorated bonus, but then bring up more prorated bonus on it. So it will lower his cap by probably like $15 million, but they're going to then be locked into even more dead cap with Dak. And so like they're doing what other teams have done, but this means that Jerry Jones has fully committed to Dak Prescott for the next 7 years. Dak is 31 years old right now. We don't realize that we think he's like 27, but at this point, are you saying Dak is going to suddenly be twice the player he's been? He puts up great in-season numbers, but is folded in the playoffs. He's Tony Romo 2.0. Like, this is the way Dak has been. And Jerry Jones has so fully committed, and not only fully committed, but committed in a worse way than almost every other team has because of his whatever situation there with Dak, that now he's looking at this and saying, I'm struggling committing to Micah Parsons in this because now I have between these two guys, I'm going to be locking in like 45% of my cash spend between this season and next season.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And that makes it harder to sign free agents. And now you have other young guys coming up. So, they gave the big contract to CD Lamb. Like, this is what happens. And so, yeah, I say I'm here for all of this happening with the Cowboys. I'm going to take some victory laps. I love it. I want to see more of it, because in 2026, you know what CD Lamb's cap hit goes up to in 2026? So it's relatively low this season and next season. But then they're going to have to make another decision on CD Lamb. And then it's really gonna increase, because he's a $39 million cap hit in 2026. CD Lamb is. And I don't think that the salary cap is going to go up to the points that we think it's going to go up to, because I think all these teams thought it was going to continue to rise at the way it had been. Yes, the NFL recorded record revenues from their broadcasting rights this last year and the shared revenue, but it actually increased at less than half the rate it had been the previous 2 years. And that has a big part of the salary cap calculations. So the TV revenues from like the year-to-year growth from 2022 to 2023, 2023 to 2024, or excuse me, the other way, 21 to 22, 22 to 23, were around 8% increase in growth. And then 23 to 24 was a 3.5% growth. So the growth more than halved. And that means that the salary cap that's been rising at like 10% each year is probably going to be closer to like 6%. So the salary cap is not going to increase at the rates at which we've been seeing. And that's what I think like Jerry Jones has been banking on.
Well, no one was banking on an hour and 12-minute show. But again, you guys keep us on our toes. You love hanging out. We love having you.
And y'all just stuck with us. I appreciate it. We end up on some tangents.
Definitely.
I blame Adam for that.
I do what I can. That's why I love Sports Idiot Nation as well. So be sure to follow Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media, and of course,
when do you think this Micah Parsons situation gets resolved?
Absolutely before